Yo, what up? Welcome back to another episode of Jay's Sideline. Checking in this Monday morning, starting this week off. Shout out to the FNS fam, Matt, Lawisha, Andrea, Freeze Corner, Wives Unscripted, regular FNS podcast material. Check it out. This morning, the weekend has given me things to want to cover this morning. We just came off of the rivalry week of college football. Michigan versus Ohio State, Florida State versus Florida, North Carolina versus North Carolina State, Alabama versus Auburn. You know, all of those things. All of those different rivalries that happened, man, over this weekend. And what I'm going to hit on particular is the flag planting of the winning team or the road team on the losing team, the home team's field. Over the weekend, we seen it a couple of times. North Carolina State tried to plant their flag on North Carolina's 50-yard line. Michigan tried to plant their flag on Ohio State's 50-yard line. Florida State and Florida tried to plant their flag on Florida State's 50-yard line. And brawls and fights was the result. My personal opinion on this, all right? My personal opinion on this is what comes with real rivalries, real ones. Because in real rivalries, the other team can't stand the other team. They hate the other team. They despise the other team. And this is what normally happens when one team gets the better of the other on their field. It's like bragging rights / we own you for the moment type stuff. And as it should, the opposing team, the home team, they shouldn't be going for that. Because it is a disrespectful act. It is disrespectful. But it's what comes with these rivalries. And pretty much a way that you can prevent that from happening is, as a losing home team, just guard your 50-yard line after the game. I know after the game, there still might be some handshakes, good game, you know, things that been going on since Pee Wee or Pop Warner, what you could say. And some folks may feel like it's like a low move to try to plant your flag on somebody else's field. I'm not saying that they right or wrong. What I'm saying is this is what comes with real rivalries. This is what comes with it. This is what comes with it. The ultimate disrespectful stuff comes with real rivalries. Like, it's more than just after the game is over, it's going to be a line of, or some handshakes, good game and whatnot kind of stuff. With these brawls that happened over the weekend, you can look at the history of these brawls, or of these two teams going up against each other. You can look at the history of this stuff. This isn't the first time these things have happened. So what I don't personally care for is when, people try to act like this is such a brand new thing and whatnot. And they say that this is bad for the sport. If that's the way they truly felt, like this was bad for the sport, this is bad for college football, then I would think that they would want to shut the cameras off for that game so what takes place would not be recorded and be displayed on national television. That's what I would think. But when they come up to these games from next season, one of the things that they always like to go to is old footage of stuff that's happened between these two teams. Fights and everything. They bring up all of that old footage to try to hype up or add to it what they saying about this rivalry runs deep kind of stuff. So technically it's not bad for the sport. It continues to feed the rivalry. It continues to feed the hatred for each other when you step on that field. Now these same players, when they go to the pros and they get drafted and whatnot and they happen to play on the same team as some of these guys, I don't know how that really goes because I've never been in a pro locker room when the whole roster is up in there. But I would think that they would be able to let bygones be bygones for the sake of wearing the same jersey and going out there and trying to get a W on Sundays. But on Saturdays, when it comes time for their teams to play each other again, that's when they go their separate ways. You probably might see some gambling going on. My team wins, you give me this. Your team wins, I give you this type stuff, It might be those kind of things. So, really, I think this is actually good for the sport and good for rivalries. Now, is it good for folks to be fighting and folks to get hurt off of that stuff? No. But these dudes is doing this with helmets on, man. They doing this with helmets on. They, you got to have a few screws loose to play football. I played as a child, and I know some other ones that's played even at higher levels and whatnot. You got to have a few screws a little bit loose to play football. But at the same time, so much good comes from team sports, and that team sport in particular. So, there's my personal opinion. I think there's more good that comes from this than bad. Is there bad that comes from this? If you look at the footage of fights and whatnot happening between them and whatever happens after that, if you look at that as a bad thing, then yeah, maybe. But don't watch hockey. Hockey, they allow you to fight. The referees be standing right there on the side. Just watching y'all. Waiting for y'all to looks like they just be waiting for y'all to run out of gas. And then they come and break it up. And these dudes, they take off the gloves and the helmets and they be swinging. Dudes be skating away with missing teeth and whatnot. But football, you never really had that kind of issue for the most part. But there's always fights when it comes to rivalries. There's always been fights. They always set it up that way too because they haven't changed the locker room setup. You can look at some of the times in the past, and I'ma focus in on the Michigan and Ohio State rivalry here. Because when dudes is coming out the hall to get ready to get on the field, they walk right past the other team's locker room. And so whenever players hear them coming out, they like ready to meet them in the hallway. And then the next thing you know, words get said, adrenaline gets going, fights might happen. Like warming up is not something that can kind of happen with both teams on the field anymore. In some cases, not all cases, but in some cases. And yesterday, with what happened, Saturday with what happened with Michigan and Ohio State, this is probably the biggest rivalry in sports. Probably. I can't really think of another one that's bigger than this. Two states going against each other. That's touching each other. After the game, first off, shout out to Michigan for winning because they was heavy underdogs in this game. Ohio State had the better roster, better season, only won one game up until this point. They was ranked number 2 in the country, I believe. Michigan, on the other hand, wasn't ranked, lost about, 4 or 5 games. Winning this game record-wise wasn't going to do much for them, but because this is the biggest rivalry, these teams can lose every other game of the season, but if they win this one game, they might look at it as, oh, we got a winning season. And after that whole situation happened, and the Michigan player was going to go start trying to plant the flag. They didn't show initially how he did it, but they showed the second attempt. It looked like how he did it. He was kind of like asking for it, because after the first time, like Michigan and Ohio State players, they was already like facing off in the middle of the field and whatnot. And the Michigan player, he was running around the field waving the flag. And then when he was coming back down to the midfield around where the 50-yard line is at, he was running on the side where all the Ohio State players were. So he was like, he kept egging it on. Like really, really rubbing it in. This is what I'm talking about here. Willing to do all the disrespectful moves to keep pushing the buttons of a rivalry. You just beat your most hated team, your most hated foe. You just beat them. In the game that you wasn't supposed to win, you just beat them. And then like video clips was out about it with the Ohio State player snatching the flag, ripping it off and stuff like that. And he was like having like yelling at his own coaches, talking about they can't keep disrespecting us like this, or they can't keep planting their flag on our field like this, or whatever, whatnot. Whatever the case is. Those are the kind of things that happen in these situations. Now, what I will say about that, though, with the Michigan and Ohio State one, what I will say about that is this. I seen that the police maced Michigan players. If you've seen the clip, there's 2 Michigan players that was like heavily squinting their eyes like they couldn't see out of them at all. And I think I seen one where they were trying to squirt water at them so they don't, trying to clean them out or whatever, whatnot. That right there is wrong in my mind. The police should not be using that kind of force on college players. It's never been necessary before, not that I know of. So why would they do it? My personal thoughts on that, they're Ohio police. They wanted Ohio State to win, and Michigan beat them again. This marks 4 times straight that Michigan has beat Ohio State. 2 times straight that Michigan has beat Ohio State on Ohio State's field. Last 4 years. My thought on this is that losing the game really hurt them, and then seeing them plant their flag, they wanted to take some matters into their own hands and step out of bounds. I thought this was wrong. This was really wrong, because you can't say that you were trying to control the situation with the players, because if that's the case, it would have been Michigan and Ohio State players that would have got their eyes maced. But because it was only Michigan players that got their eyes maced, we know what this is. So I would think that there would be some kind of punishment handed down there. Not saying that it's going to be heavy punishment, because you know they gonna look out for their own. Ohio's gonna look out for their own. They all hurting right now because of this loss. I don't even know if winning the national championship would, you know, rectify anything with them or not. But you know, this is the emotions of being the losing team in a strong rivalry. My squad, Florida State, terrible season, 2-10 finish. Ready for the offseason, ready for some furniture to get moving in this program, man. Florida beat us on our home field, tried to plant the flag, and I don't like Mike Norvell as a head coach. That's my personal opinion. I don't like him as a head coach. Not that he's a bad person or anything like that. I don't like his coaching. All right? I don't like his coaching. I don't like his recruiting. But probably the best thing that he did this season was he took the Gators flag off the 50-yard line and he threw it out in front of Gators players. That's the best thing he did this season. And this is another rivalry. Fights happen all the time. You can look at old footage. They always show the old footage in that little preview before the game actually starts. This rivalry runs deep, and they show old fights, old game clips and whatnot. You know, this is just what comes with it. Both teams suffer losses from this, and both teams have wins from this. That's what makes it a rivalry. It wouldn't be a rivalry if one team just dominated all the time. It wouldn't be that. But Florida State, terrible season, coming off of dominating the state for about, 4 years or so or something like that? Maybe it wasn't 4 years. That was with Jimbo. But anyway, dominating the state, was undefeated last year in the regular season, then go 2-10 this season. Explain that to me. But anyway, losing this game, the other team has bragging rights. But you ain't gonna plant your flag on the field and not expect the fight not to happen. It's just one of the things that come with it. It's just one of those things that come with it. Rivalries are good for sports, y'all. Rivalries are good for sports. It adds to the views. It adds to the purchases of apparel. Like, people gonna make sure that they're gonna sit down in front of their TV next year to watch these rivalries because of these fights and stuff like that. Because their team may have lost and they want to have some get back. They want to be able to brag too. Fans want to be able to have those bragging rights to people that they may work with or the people that they may know that may be fans of the opposing team. They want to be able to rub it in their face some, you know? Rivalries are good for sports, y'all. I mean, it's not just a football thing. And it's not just a college football. Like, look at basketball. Look at basketball. The rivalry between the Celtics and the Lakers from the 80s. With Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and them. Can't tell me that them wasn't no rivalries. And they didn't help the sport. Made people want to sit down and watch the game more. Or the Pistons, when it came to the Bulls, the Celtics. Folks wanted to watch that stuff. If people have always been attracted to watching fights, man. Like, you can even go down to high school or school, period. What happens when two kids start fighting? The whole section of students that happen to be in that area, they like crowd around it trying to watch that. This has been the behavior of people since kids. They love to watch fights. They'll watch rivalry games just because of fights. And I'll go back to the Florida State stuff. Florida State, Miami. Those rivalries can only go so far, being in state lines and whatnot. But it's nothing like this Ohio State and Michigan stuff, bro. Like, this Ohio State and Michigan stuff, they take the name rivalry and they take it to a whole nother level. Because they will... So, I seen the documentary, right? One of the documentaries of the rivalry. And back in the days, right? Ohio State coach would be in Michigan trying to recruit a player, right? To come play for Ohio State. Explain that to me if the rivalry runs so hard, though. But anyway, he's in Michigan trying to recruit a player to come play for Ohio State. If he needed gas, he would drive back behind Ohio State lines to get gas rather than support the state of Michigan. That's how much that hatred runs deep between these two teams. Ohio State is in their fight song. Like, if you look up the Ohio State fight song, they be like, O-H-I-O, we don't give a damn for the whole state of Michigan. I'm from Ohio. That's how their stuff go. Look it up if you don't believe me. Or if you don't know about it. Because if you up here, you know about that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, they always clown on each other. Like, Michigan always clown on Ohio State because they be like, people that graduate from there be stupid and stuff like that. That's what they say. I'm not saying that that's true, but like they be like bragging on it and stuff like that. Matter of fact, in that documentary, one of the jokes that the Michigan dude said that he was going up against Ohio State, he was like, you want to get? He had said, how do you get a OSU grad off your porch? He said, you pay him the money for the pizza. Saying that education ain't gonna work out, player. You gonna be delivering pizzas for the rest of your life. Dog, it's crazy how deep this rivalry runs, man. It's crazy how deep this rivalry runs. And then you go over to the West Coast, you got the USC Trojans. They rivalries with, I believe it's UCLA, but you know, I don't know too much about the West Coast stuff. I know it's normally a rivalry with them and Notre Dame. They used to play regularly against each other, Notre Dame. Matter of fact, this past weekend, you seen the Notre Dame offensive lineman, after he blocked one of the USC players to the ground, he punched him in his helmet. Didn't get a flag thrown for it, too. It was like the referees missed that one, but replay show got it. You can look that up. Rivalries always feed that extra energy into the game. They do. They feed that extra energy into the game. Players play a little bit more harder than what they've always played the whole season because of this rivalry. They bring that energy to it. And you can throw the records out the window. Michigan and Ohio State is an example of that. You can throw the records out the window. Them records don't mean nothing. Not anymore. Because that rivalry brings out something that wasn't there them other games. There's like an extra level of focus in preparation that happens with these rivalry games. Extra level of everything that gets put on display. And it makes for a better watch when it's a competitive game. That Ohio State-Michigan game, that thing was close. That thing was close. Bruh, I mean, in my personal opinion, rivalries are good for the sport. And to some degree, rivalries, when they have fights that come with them, they even contribute more things, more good than bad to the sport. Not that I'm condoning it. I'm just acknowledging that this provides something to the sport, the rivalry. Matter of fact, a couple years ago, when I was at the Ohio State-Michigan game here in Michigan over in Ann Arbor, you can just see, like, when you the opposing team fan and you come on no other team's territory, you gotta be careful of things you say. You gotta be careful of things you say. You can't just do anything. You can't just say anything. You gotta walk that fine line. You know what I'm saying? And that rivalry go so serious. They had SWAT out there, automatic rifles in hand. Now, I don't know what's happened in the past with the fans, but I'm pretty sure it done hit the fan a number of times. For them to view it as necessary to have SWAT armed, guns in hand, patrolling the area, patrolling the fans. Because, liquid motivation do a lot to people. Dudes start drinking too much, then trash talk, normal trash talk that comes with these rivalries turns into highly disrespectful trash talk. Now you poking at people's emotions, and then you're going to be having actions that come with it. So I don't know what's happened in the past between the fan bases of these two teams. But clearly something has happened here. Now, I'm not for that part. But I know it's what comes with rivalry games. Fans fight all the time when it comes to rivalry stuff. And it's not just in football again. This is in sports across the board. Fans fight all the time. They are heavily invested into the team that they are rooting for. And that's even overseas. Overseas, you talk about soccer because they have countries go against each other overseas. When those countries go against each other in them rivalries that happen over there, stuff goes down over there too. Don't take my word for it. Do your research on that, player. But it's just the nature of rivalries. They bring a lot to the sport. Do they bring some unnecessary stuff to the sport? Yes. But you rather have them than not have them. That's the way I see it. Rivalry week provides a lot of stuff. So that's the way I feel about the rivalries and all the stuff that comes with it, man. To close out though on this episode, I'll say yesterday, Sunday, there was something else that happened that resulted in a brawl. My team, Jacksonville, playing against Houston, which is another rivalry in pro sports. Trevor Lawrence rolling out the pocket, scrambling, went to slide, and took a dirty hit from Houston linebacker. I forget what his first name is, but his last name is Al-Shaair. He plays with a brace on his arm. When the quarterback starts to slide, you see the feet coming first. Al-Shaair hit him with a dirty hit, lowering himself, diving at him, and throwing his elbow at him. Trevor Lawrence's reaction to that hit, when his head hit the ground and whatnot, it was almost a Tua Tagovailoa reaction to getting hit the last couple of times that Tua had a concussion. Trevor just was coming back from being hurt with his left shoulder. And now he's playing, and he goes for the slide, takes this hit, and his body locks up a little bit. Like it was a disturbing scene to see. But right after that hit, the fight started. Right after that hit. It was a natural reaction right after that hit. And the first one that jumped on him was the tight end, Evan Ingram. This is what you're supposed to do when dirty hits take place that really hurt your players, your teammates. And even in rivalries, there's a certain respect that should exist between opposing team players that, yeah, I want to mess you up legally on this field, but I'm not trying to take away your ability to earn a living here. And some folks feel like Al-Shaair crossed the line here. And he was not apologetic about what he did neither. At least by his actions, he wasn't apologetic. He was fighting, like he was ready to fight the whole time. Like he out here getting jumped and trying to fight back. Because there's only so much you can hurt a person when they wearing pads and helmets. You know what I'm saying? So he ready to fight back. And as he was going off the field too, he was still talking noise, trying to fight back. And Jaguars offensive lineman Brandon Sharif was there ready to meet him, but he was being held back and whatnot. So the reason why I bring that up is even with the rivalry stuff, man, there's normally still that line of respect of not playing dirty or not doing dirty hits. Because I'm sure that there's still dirty stuff that goes on throughout the game to try to win the game. But nothing to the degree of trying to truly hurt the other player and cause him some serious harm that could cause him to not to play. So Shaair, I don't know what his mind frame is like, what kind of person he really is. But the impression is like he might be one of those bad seeds. Might be. But for Trevor Lawrence, it's unfortunate that, you know, coming back trying to end the season strong, his chemistry looked off with the players because, you know, Jacksonville been dealing with their own fair share of injuries too. But like, it's unfortunate. Thankfully for him, he was able to get up and stand up on his own power and get onto the cart under his own power, which is something that Tua wasn't able to do. But when you see a player body lock up like that, it's not a beautiful sight, fam. Concern immediately goes to, is this player going to be okay in the future? Because Tua's body locked up enough so bad the 2 times that he got hit. Like his locked up so bad to where I felt like he should have retired and stepped away from the game, because life is more important. Being there for your kids is more important. You know, being able to watch them go to their first day of school and whatnot, teach them the way of life as you understand it, you know, and teach them how to be a man. But you know, he ended up getting cleared to play from some doctors, and he's back playing football again. So hey, Tua, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen again, you know. But for Trevor Lawrence, this is something that the season was already over for Jacksonville. This was just attempt to finish strong, I guess you could say. That's all this was an attempt to finish strong. So hopefully Trevor Lawrence is okay. If I'm the head coach, I'm sitting Trevor Lawrence down for the rest of the season because he wasn't healed from that shoulder injury. Go ahead, get that surgery that you was trying to hold off from getting, so you can get well, truly get well, and prepare for some big changes to come, because the owner already was giving out hints about making changes and whatnot, trying not to do it in the middle of the season and wait until the off season to do it. And now with your quarterback that you signed and you committed to, at least for now, because that still is up for debate to change, but at least for now, to not have him most likely available for the next couple of games and possibly the rest of the season, might as well just sit him down for the rest of the season and go to the drawing board now for the off season. Get to a head start, because you're not going to be able to win too many games with Mac Jones as your quarterback. You're not going to be able to win games with him. Like, Trevor's starting for a reason, man. Like, and you see how bad it is. But outside of that, though, you know, that's the Monday morning, y'all. Y'all have a good day. Whether you gonna be at work or you got the day off, kick this December off right. Have a good one. Tune in to the Wives Unscripted. They just did an episode Friday night. I think it's up. And keep your eyes and ears open for more content coming from the FNS family together as a whole. From Matt with his Freeze Corner, and from me and him on our own, because we got some stuff that we gonna talk about that I think is pretty interesting. So be on the lookout for that. Outside of that, y'all have a good day. Be easy.